I'm Alessandra Barrett, Senior Content Editor for JOC. I'm at our Container Trade Europe conference with Sanjay Tejwani, Senior Vice President and Global Head of LCL for DHL Global Forwarding. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me today, Alessandra. I'm glad to be here and talk to you a bit about LCL.
How does less than container load shipping enable customers to tap into more diverse markets?
As you know, global trade has been on a continued growth trajectory for the last several years. Now, this growth that we witnessed or have witnessed is not coming only from organic growth from the current customer base. There are new products being launched every year. There's new players in the market, i.e. New shippers and new consignees. LCL is a very cost-effective, let's say, mode of shipment to allow new shippers and new consignees or even existing shippers and consignees to launch new products. Customers can control their risk by sending in small shipments into test markets or trial markets. And once they establish their product base, they can then go into the larger shipments. What we can do as DHL is to launch new services, more direct services, to allow and facilitate the shipment of these into these test markets, for example. And once the trade routes have been established, these services can be opened up to the wider audience and the wider customer base, and thereby we can facilitate, let's say, shippers and consignees tapping into these diverse markets. Customers, especially consignees, need not or do not have to buy only from a single location or a single supplier. They can also buy from multiple shippers across multiple locations in a country or multiple countries in a geographical region, and we can consolidate them on behalf of the consignee. And that's the other aspect where consignees can tap into many, many different and diverse markets, allowing them to grow.
What are your customers asking for as far as LCL services? Is that changing?
So in my experience, I think it's based on the size of the customer. So we have very large customers, we have medium-sized, and we have small customers. Now, the very large customers and some medium-sized customers are typically looking for, let's say, extended rate stability. They're looking for providers who can provide global coverage, more number of direct services. They're looking for online tools like EDI integration, shipment, real-time shipment visibility, and end-to-end visibility as well. On the other hand, if you look at some of the smaller customer base, they may not be so much interested in, let's say, EDI integration with us or the providers. They may not also want real-time shipment visibility, as in status of every milestone in the shipment. But they're, of course, interested on exception management. So if something were to happen, shipments get delayed, they want to know why. They're also looking for, let's say, rates to be competitive, but maybe for a shorter validity. And they're also now looking at, let's say, some features of online tools. For example, online quotation and booking tools. The marketplace is changing. I think the customer buying behavior is changing. And we have to then adapt and provide those tools to customers who are looking for these online facilities. And we've also now have ventured and are providing customers with tools like online quotation tools and the booking tools. And I think all customers, large or small, are definitely looking at an LCL provider to be a consultant. So they're saying, we want to have somebody who is an expert in shipping LCL. They may have a shipment of 5, let's say, cubic meters or 10 cubic meters, and then they want the LCL provider to tell them what is the best way to get this from point A to point B. They don't want to be bothered about the thought process. I think these are some of the things that at least I have seen customers asking for.
Now, air freight, are you seeing that as being a significant competitor to LCL services?
So as DHL, we're providing air freight, ocean freight, FCL, and LCL, all kinds of shipping services. Air freight, by nature of the business, is an expensive mode of shipment compared to ocean freight. Let's just keep in mind that most of the global trade is conducted via the oceans, both in terms of volume and value. Air freight is expensive, LCL is cheaper. The one thing that is common between the two modes is that both have smaller size of shipments compared to, let's say, FCL. The one thing that is very different is the transits. So when products are extremely transit sensitive, then of course customers choose the air freight option. However, if the products are not transit sensitive, that's where I think LCL and air freight compete with each other. I have known many customers and met many customers who have, let's say, launched air to ocean conversion programs to cut cost. And typically every customer, or let's say most of customers, would have some amount of air freight, FCL and LCL. And I think they're looking to see what is the best or most effective cost option in shipping all these three modes. So where I would say the transit is not, let's say, a key requirement for the customers, definitely I think air freight and LCL are competing against each other.
What sort of an impact are you seeing from carrier consolidation?
If you go back into the last, let's say, 20 years of what is going on in the carrier business, I think what has happened in the last 3 years has been unprecedented. The amount of carrier consolidation, starting with the bankruptcy and then a series of mergers and acquisitions, has happened in the last 3 years, and the number of global players has diminished quite a bit. Today, I think there's a few carriers who are controlling most of the capacity in the market. What that means for the business and the industry in general is there's fewer players around the table to make decisions on capacity, deployment, and overall, let's say, fewer voices which can impact supply demand and thereby the freight industry. If you look at the average freight rates, and I'm saying average freight rates over a period of, let's say, last 3 years, and contractual rates, they have gone up quite a bit. You will always see the spot rate fluctuation, and that will, I think, will remain because that's the nature of the business that of what we do. But long-term contractual rates have risen in the last 2 or 3 years, and that is, I think, in my view, it's a direct consequence of the carrier consolidation. You had in the last, I would say, maybe 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, you had in some trade routes, you had double-digit freight rates. And you can imagine the amount of losses carriers are making on that. But I think in my view, we are past that. I think with fewer carriers around the table and the measures that they're taking, mid-term to long-term, I do see that ocean freight, FCL freight rates will stabilize at much higher levels than we've seen in the past. What that means is that we will see, let's say, the LCL market size going up. If we did witness in the last 2 or 3 years when the ocean FCL rates were rock bottom, that the LCL market shrunk a bit because shippers realized it's not too expensive, or maybe it's cost compensatory to ship FCL versus LCL, and that is now changing again. So we see now the LCL market coming back, customers wanting to ship more LCL, and I think the long-term view would be that as the carriers get a better handle on managing freight rates and they stabilize at higher levels, we will see more and more of LCL market growth. And in my view, the future for LCL shipping is extremely bright.
Thanks for taking time to sit down with me today.
Thank you, Alexander.
I've been speaking with Sanjay Tejwani, Senior Vice President and Global Head of LCL for DHL Global Forwarding.